Actually wanted to talk about something really quick. Um, I had a conversation with Data Mail Rose Wrist recently, um, which went up on the second channel, the Vaush Pit, which you guys should look at because I'm happy with it. And there was sort of a tangential subject that came up that I've seen some people talking about that I wanted to touch on like super quickly, if I might.
What is the best pragmatic advocacy we can do right now for climate change?
A combination of extremely ironic Roblox eco-terrorism and all of the adjacent political... You put your hand in your face, buddy. There's no damage done through eco-terrorism that's not going to be done every nanosecond under a properly climate change world. People were talking about this. Now, obviously, we are talking about video games. We are talking about irony. I am talking about the plot of Final Fantasy VII, and this has absolutely no connection to any real-world advocacy for any behavior, beliefs, ideology, anything of that sort. It's all Final Fantasy VII. I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy XIV lately. 7 is one half of 14, you know, it's just been on the mind. Really nothing to worry about, nothing to be specific about. However, you know, let's talk about Final Fantasy VII, a game that I've never played and know nothing about. So, as I understand it, tell me if I'm wrong, okay? As I understand it, in Final Fantasy VII, tell me if I'm wrong. I'm going to simplify a bit because I know this plot gets convoluted, right? Okay? In Final Fantasy VII, right, there's an institution that's doing bad things with infrastructure, and the infrastructure, if it continues to do the stuff that it's doing, will lead to bad outcomes. And therefore, narratively, it's justified in story that when you destroy that infrastructure, the bad outcomes don't happen, and then it's good that they did that. Right? That's like I'm hitting at something here, right? This is indeed a thing which takes place, you know, I'm thinking. Such a liberal... I talked about this before, man. I just, you know, we've talked about political violence before. Political violence is ubiquitous, you know. It is political violence to pass a law, because all you're really doing is establishing a framework by which you're allowed to use the targeted violence of the state against people who don't obey those laws or fit within, you know, the purview of accepted behavior. Essentially, any behavior which takes advantage of institutional power is going to be some kind of political violence. There's no way around that, you know. It's political violence to, for example, vote against an increase to the minimum wage because people are hurt by the pathetically low federal minimum wage that we have. And as a result, you can kill far more people by failing to pass healthcare reform than you could with, like, any direct act of violence that any individual could commit. How many people die in the United States every year due to insubstantial or lacking healthcare? How many Columbines per year is that? What are we up to, 100, 1,000 Columbines, if you were to do the numbers, like, in a relativistic sense? But, you know, it doesn't get thought of that way. We hyper-sensationalize, you know, stochastic acts of violence because they are, well, admittedly sensational, but all of the institutional stuff gets kind of bled out into the back. It's all, you know, kept a little quiet. It's like the COVID deaths. Like, yeah, like the COVID deaths situation has been like a 9/11 every single day, right? But 9/11 gets talked about for 20 years. And COVID deaths are like, oh, what, you know, it's what, okay, so a couple thousand people every day. Well, a couple thousand people every day is a 9/11 every day. Ridiculous. But, you know, the degree of sensationality affects the way in which people talk about this. The thing that frustrates me is it seems like people who are liberals agree with the idea of, let's call it ecological activism. They agree with the concept of ecological activism in, like, all media. You know what I mean? Like, if you follow, like, any story that liberals like, the concept of destroying destructive infrastructure to beget better outcomes is almost ubiquitously present. I'm serious. You can go, like anything. They do this in Steven Universe, for God's sake. They do this anything and everywhere. The critical difference the only thing that really separates it is that usually, yeah, this happens in Disney movies. Like, this isn't like the like. I think of how many stories there are about like a dam that's been built is like destroying the local wildlife, and then like the cool in touch with nature people blow up the dam and like make life better for the trees, and that's considered a good thing, you know? Under those like stakes, we're talking about, local, that's Frozen too. Under those stakes, we're talking about like local ecological preservation. And under the stakes of real world climate change, we're talking about hundreds of millions of people. We're talking about the whole planet. It's actually pretty rare to find any situation in any piece of media where the infrastructure is doing as much damage as what's actually happening in the real world, you know what I'm talking about? It's like it's like, guys, it's your Hunger Games, it's your Avatar the Last Airbender, it's your Harry Potter, but it's real and it's 1,000 times worse. You know? Um it's funny. It's funny stuff. Um yeah, people often talk about like, the optics of ecological activism. And I feel like it's a little bit of a red herring, or I should say, you're kind of operating within a paradigm of expected outcomes and what you can do to best bring about the ones that you want. And the issue is that I feel like this is just a feeling that I have. Okay, tell me if you guys also feel this feeling that I have. Uh, Institutional reform has not proven to be especially effective with regards to the climate change business, has it? I mean, they've known about climate change since like the 1960s, Companies covered it up, but politicians have known about it in varying forms for a good long period of time. And it's 2022 now, and there's really no scientific argument about this. And yet somehow this is still a debate. Like, we can't even publish, or we can't even like pass any laws pertaining to it because the government is still gridlocked, and Republicans won't believe it exists because they're on the payroll of, or at least directly connected with, or at least in the same political bloc as fossil fuel infrastructure. By the way, even in countries that don't have like Fox News to poison the numbers, they're also not doing enough. You guys know that, right? Like, you can go to social democracies in Europe and like the amount, the harm that's going to be brought about is enough to justify like any institutional reform, like anything, like wartime behavior. How many people died in World War II? Nowhere near as many who will die because of climate change. But they were still to nationalize the factories, when it's wartime, you see what governments are capable of doing. Like, when it really comes down to it, people crank the levers and they're like, you know what? We don't care anymore. We're going full throttle. Okay, we're going full force. All right, we're going sicko mode on this one. But even countries that don't have this internal debate the way the United States does about whether or not climate change is real, they're still not doing anywhere near enough. Usually you get these like platitudes, oh, we're going to be net neutral carbon emissions by this period of time, or oh, this, that, or the other. But we don't need that. We need like sicko mode activism, okay? We need sicko mode. If we could pass the Patriot Act because of 9/11, two things which have no relationship to each other, but if we have the political will to do that, if we could start wars over 9/11, I mean, we're doing nothing over this. It's due to a complicated range of factors, but it's a problem, And I feel like, and this isn't even a prescriptive, statement on my part. This is descriptive. The world in the near future will be a world filled with ecological activism. I don't think there's any getting around that, Like, especially in countries where things are going a little bit worse than what we have going on here in the West. You really think that, what's that old saying? People are 2 days of missed meals away from revolution. Things are gonna pull apart, and people are gonna know why too, We've been able to put the cover on it for a bit. 3 missed meals, yeah. We've been able to put the cover on it for a bit, but like eventually the discourse is going to get throttled to the point where no matter what the media says, the vast majority of people are going to understand, oh, hey, why did it hit 123 degrees yesterday? Why did my grandpa die of a heat stroke and couldn't go to the hospital because the hospital was full of other people who were dying of heat stroke? Uh, why is this happening in a place where the like max temperature ever before was like 102 degrees? You know, enough people are going to put the pieces together that ecological activism is going to become a part of life. And the natural temptation, I think, for a lot of people, it's going to be to optics frog these guys. You know what I mean? It's going to be, well, this decreases the likelihood of institutional change. Well, what institutional change? What? What institutional change? I've used this example before, but the situation we're in right now is like you guys stroll up to like a building that's on fire, and it's been on fire for like an hour. And the firefighters are sitting there leaning against the car, and they've been there for an hour. And you're like, okay, this building's on fire and it's my apartment. What do we do? And somebody snaps their fingers and they're like, I know what we do. We ask the firemen to help. And you're like, well, wait, they're not doing anything. Maybe I could get a bucket of water. And you're like, no, 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 no. That would only offend the firemen, okay? You'd make them feel unwanted. Okay, don't be rude. They'll take care of it, you know? It's like, well, I don't know. It's been a while. They've had the time, you know? They've had a good shot. I just don't think people should optics frog over this, you know? It's something that's going to happen, you know? And they'll be in the right, by the way. They will be in the right. Would you morally condemn them? Really? Like the world is basically ending. And you'd be like, what a bad optics thing to do to, you know, do activism on this pipeline or building. Uh, I do want heating on my house, though. Oh, heating we will have aplenty, my friend. That's the problem, actually. Look, the issue is if the governments that were supposed to represent our interests actually gave a fuck about us, this wouldn't be an issue. We could have had a green world decades ago. Do you have any idea what a wartime economy approach could have done to green energy investment if we stopped treating it like some kind of cute edge case technology and invested into it with all the weight and energy that we did World War II technology? Do you know how much stuff we invented as a product of World War II military investment? Do you have any idea how many subsidies, how much infrastructural investment gets translated directly into support for the fossil fuel industry? If the governments really cared, there would have been a synchronous media government like informational assault 40 years ago, and they would have been like, hey guys, listen, all right, we got problems, okay? We're transitioning away from fossil fuel shit. We're nationalizing these elements of the economy. The alternative to this is ruin. Here's a new like economic revitalization program. Hey everyone, we're going to become the world leaders in green energy. Congratulations. Hey, good thing you guys live in the United States of America, where we don't have to be trailing behind the pack. We can actually lead the world in the technology that'll carry us into the 21st century. Let's fucking go. And then we could have, done it. We could have done it. Would it have been difficult? Sure. But you know what else we did that was difficult? World War II. All right, I rest my case. We could have done it. We could have. We wouldn't just be net zero emissions right now, okay? We would have reversed the trend by now. Absolutely possible. Take a look at the investments done in green energy over time. It's not enough the subsidies we have now. This should have been like we should have declared war on air. Declare war on methane and carbon dioxide, okay? I want Americans patrolling the street with guns. When they see carbon dioxide molecules, they start shooting them out of the air, you know? I want people to be fucking vigilant, all right? Get ready. Anyway, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Just get ready for it. Gotta be ready. But we need CO2 to live. It will be fine. There's CO2 in people's blood, then blood we will spill and compress into carbon bricks that we'll bury underground. um, I'm being a goober. These are problems we're capable of solving. I wonder if they're actually going to do any of that, what do they call it? What do they call it? The, climate engineering? You know, that plan where they're like, we're going to spray that dust in the air and it's going to reflect like 1% of the UV radiation from the sun. And it's going to like keep the planet cold for a little bit, you know? That might end up happening. I don't know if that's a good idea though, because it only really works if they fix the problem in the meantime. You know, yeah, geoengineering. Yeah. Sounds stupid. No, no, no. The science on it works. It's a pretty cheap way of fixing the problem, too. It's like chemtrails, but real, you know? The issue is that it doesn't fix the problem. It only buys time. So if you don't get rid of the carbon in the meantime, like as soon as you're done spraying the atmosphere with UV reflecting particles, if you didn't fix the problem, you're going to warm the earth back up like real quick, you know? So you actually have to fix it. It only gives you time. It doesn't fix the problem. Did you hear about the Shell carbon capture plant that emits more than it absorbs? Yeah, because carbon capture is a meme. You guys realize carbon capture technology has proven so far to be like completely ineffective, right? I'm pretty sure the largest carbon capture plants in existence right now, when operating at full capacity, are like the equivalent of taking like a few thousand cars off the road out of the hundreds of millions of cars on the road. Like it's nothing. It's like it's nothing, you know, it's nothing. Reforestation seems like the actual like functional, yeah, like plant trees. Didn't India plant a bunch of trees and then they all ended up like dying because India was planting them too close together, or like they weren't engaging in proper like botanical research beforehand or something? That's tragic, but it is funny. Um, Lazy. Jesus. Got to do your research. That happened in Ottawa. Didn't they do it with like 1 trillion trees in India or whatever? Probably happened in a number of places. Um, yeah. Oh, increasing the algae in the ocean would probably be the best fix. That'd be pretty good, right? What if we had like green oceans? That'd be cool. I think that'd be nice. And the whole planet would be green. Be one big green ball. That can lead to toxic water, can it? Are you... I mean, I'm sure there could be a way to do it. Doesn't that make the oceans unlivable for fish? You can increase the algae and plankton a bit. You can do it. It's fine. You can find a way. Yeah, doesn't most of the oxygen in the atmosphere not even come? Yeah, it comes from plankton and algae. No, no. Ah, nice. Very floppy. Uh, uh, um, yeah. We need to replace plastics with paper-based textile. Okay, we're getting away from the point that I was getting at. The point that I was getting at is that I'm always right. Okay, shh, 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 shh. All right, very nice.